Have you noticed that everything has become extremely political lately? The video games we play, the movies we watch, the anime we like, the alcohol we consume, the books that we read, fandoms, literally everything. Oh, you liked the Barbie movie? Well, you clearly hate men because the movie is an assault on all men, as Piers Morgan puts it. Oh wait, you didn't like the Barbie movie? Well, you clearly hate women, don't support female-led films or feminism as a whole, and you are a bigot. Shame on you. Like, what? Even our holiday greetings are now political, despite the fact that they were invented to share goodwill with other people. Christians act like saying happy holidays is a war against Christmas, whereas others are upset at the words Merry Christmas. But someone wishing you joy in any form should not result in feelings of rage. Not everything is war, and the sentiment behind any greeting that wishes you happiness is not or shouldn't be a bad one. It feels like all nuance has disappeared from the conversation and like all curiosity has died with it. So consequently, more and more of the teachings from George Orwell's 1984 ring true. We've been policing each other's thoughts, where we don't freely talk to each other anymore, don't freely debate anymore, because there's always the underlying fear of getting judged, shamed, ridiculed, and ultimately being socially ostracized. Remember the great vaccine debate that happened not that long ago during the dark times? I am someone who was 3 times vaccinated, and in some circles that was a crime against humanity. And to others, I was doing my noble duty as a citizen. And here lies the problem. 2 completely polarizing reactions to something I chose to do with my body. Hardly anyone was vocally neutral on the subject. People who got vaccinated and people who were against the vaccine could not engage in a civil conversation. It was as if each side were mortal enemies, and to this day, I know people who either did get vaccinated and were too scared to tell their families, or people who did not get vaccinated who were scared to openly talk about it because they were scared that their friends would shun them or judge them. It was ridiculous. And why? Why are we like this? Both sides were just yelling and screaming at each other. Yelling and screaming have never been a good solution to anything. No one listens to you when you're screaming. No one listens to you when you come at them with hostility. You are automatically seen as a threat, as an attack, as the enemy. If you want to fight valiantly for your side, then listen, empathize, and practice compassion, because I swear those are the only ways to really touch the heart of a person. Those are the only ways to transform someone's perspective. There's been a major cultural dissonance in the last 10 or so years where I feel like we're no longer listening to each other, no longer learning from each other, and no longer engaging in important conversations because there's this constant fear of being misunderstood by our families, friends, and general communities. And it leads us all to becoming bumbling idiots, quite honestly, because we lunge at each other with pitchforks the second that someone shows even the slightest difference of opinion. How are we meant to ever come to any sort of conflict resolution without listening? Listening before judging, it's insane, because as kids, we're always told to be open-minded to people who are different than us and to practice empathy, kindness, and forgiveness. And those are teachings that have been completely forgotten. Back in 2022, The Atlantic published an interesting piece by Jonathan Haidt called "Why the Past 10 Years of American Life Have Been Uniquely Stupid." It paints our modern society reminiscent of an ancient tale. Have you ever heard of the Tower of Babel? If not, then I'll let you know what it's about. Noah builds an awe-inspiring city. Its inhabitants, desiring monumental grandeur, construct a tower that practically kisses the heavens. But in the story, their pride irritates God. And so, their languages get scrambled completely, and suddenly nobody understands each other, and complete chaos ensues. And does that sound familiar? Today, from classrooms to cozy dinner chats, voicing opinions feels like tiptoeing through a minefield. The dread of being socially ostracized or being misunderstood is real. And there's this quote by Professor Noam Chomsky that speaks to this. If we don't believe in freedom of expression for people we despise, we don't believe in it at all. And this goes for all sides of the ideological spectrum. The left and the right, religious and non-religious, red-pilled men, the radical feminists, the political centrists, whatever beliefs you have, we should be curious to hear out the other side. And if the views are toxic, then even more, we should want to know their arguments in order to strengthen our own. People who offer different viewpoints can help us think better and more critically. In a way, they make us smarter, because they add more tools to our toolkits. But shutting down or scaring off those who disagree is like putting on blinders. And I need to put an important caveat in here, that it is not your role or duty to educate people or enlighten anyone, especially if someone holds discriminatory or abusive views. If someone is racist, homophobic, or transphobic, this is not your burden. This should never fall on you. I will repeat that one more time for clarity, that if someone holds views that are painful or attack your very being, you are not responsible for enlightening these people. And I don't think we need to become less soft or less sensitive. I think our softness is what makes millennials and Gen Z an incredible force to be reckoned with. But I do think we need to rethink how quickly we judge and cast people aside, how quickly we become judge, jury, and executioner to someone who slightly steps out of line, or to someone who may even be curious about learning a new perspective. Have you ever watched videos by the YouTuber Lindsay Ellis? She was once a key voice in YouTube's leftist sphere, and she's now an author, and she was one of my favorite channels to watch on here. Yet in 2021, a digital uproar and crazy mob drove her off the platform. The catalyst? A comparison between Raya and the Last Dragon and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, you may agree or disagree with her viewpoint or with what she said. I'm not here to say whether or not she was right or wrong in her take. But if you are a human being with a bloody soul, you have to agree that the backlash, the abuse, the online torture she received was utterly disgusting, and quite honestly, a sign of our humanity, our compassion and empathy for other human beings deteriorating into dust. Burn the witch, kill the witch, stone him, hang him. We now have an online public square that uses shaming, insults, threats, doxing, and other crazy ways to punish people. And as the saying goes, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. We must ask ourselves, is this the world we aspire to cultivate? How on earth is wishing someone death and leading people to want to end their lives a good thing? The internet and society as a whole are broken in this way. We are constantly shooting darts at one another, even at people who are on the same ideological side as us. Accountability matters, especially for perpetrators who are actively hurting communities, that are actively hurting people. But there needs to be a better metric for the scale of punishment. The current mob attacks do not fit every crime, and they are becoming a net evil instead of a net good. We've never had this insane mob power before the internet, and we should not be playing the role of judge, jury, and executioner, because throughout history, social exile has been considered a punishment worse than death. In ancient Greece, being expelled from the city-state was one of the harshest penalties one could face, and we keep doing this to people now. How on earth is this humane? In a few years, I can see us looking back at this and being horrified that this was the norm. And as much as accountability is a cornerstone of justice, so is context. There's a quote by Scott Fitzgerald from The Great Gatsby that says, "Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had." Someone could grow up in a community where they have been sheltered and cocooned their entire life. They've only been shown one perspective, and so they believe in values and hold opinions that do not completely match yours. Or maybe someone grew up in a completely different time without the luxury of the internet and the abundance of information we now have. Should we stone these people? No. Do they deserve death? No, they don't deserve a social death either. And maybe I'm here wearing rose-tinted glasses, and maybe I'm naive, but I truly believe that through open dialogue, we can shed light on new perspectives and maybe find common ground on pressing issues. We can enlighten each other. Maybe we'll realize that we're not all that different. We're not divided, we're just not understanding each other, just like the people in the Tower of Babel. And I'm going to take off this silly hat now. Thank you so much for listening to me today. Thank you for listening to me vent. I am very curious about your thoughts about this. Do you feel like we've fractured into an us versus them society, even in our own circles? Do you feel like we're divided, or is this something that's far more dramatic in my head? Let me know in the comments below. I'll respond to as many comments as I can, and if you like this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to see more videos like this. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.